Today's video is all about The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald. This classic was written in 1922 and is set in the Roaring '20s.
I'm already hooked. Hooked.
The story is told by the character Nick Carraway. Nick served in World War I and, coming from a well-to-do family, just graduated from Yale.
Wealthy, but not stuffy.
It starts with Nick moving into a bungalow on the Long Island village of West Egg. Next to it is the sprawling mansion of the mysterious J. Gatsby. Across the water is the village of East Egg, where Nick's cousin Daisy lives with her rich husband Tom. Remember this because you'll be hearing a lot about these people.
We're the talk of the town.
So Nick goes over to Tom and Daisy's for dinner, and there he meets Jordan Baker, a golf champion who loves a good gossip. When Tom and Daisy are arguing in an adjoining room, Jordan tells Nick that Tom has a mistress in the city and everyone knows. The charming Daisy keeps up appearances the rest of the evening, but does seem very interested when she hears that Nick's neighbor is a guy named Gatsby.
All's fair in love and war.
A few days later, Nick has lunch with Tom in New York, and on the way there, they visit Tom's mistress. She lives in a run-down part of town known as Valley of the Ashes. So an old ad for an eye doctor looms over this part of town, which is the inspiration for this book's cover.
Interesting.
They find Myrtle, Tom's mistress, at her husband's garage. Tom gives her the signal and she follows them into the city where Tom has an apartment for their trysts.
It's not very classy, but there you go.
Myrtle invites some people over and they have a little party, until Myrtle dares to mention Daisy and Toxic Tom breaks her nose. The scene ends there and the story picks back up when Nick gets an invitation for one of Gatsby's famous parties. Every week there's an extravagant party with hundreds of people at his house.
It gets pretty wild, man.
When Nick attends with Jordan, he realizes that most people there don't even know Gatsby. There's rumors that he's a murderer on the run and even a German spy. But when Nick runs into Gatsby at the party, he finds an unassuming, polite man relaxing at a table. They have a short but pleasant talk before Gatsby vanishes. As the party goes on and the people get drunker and wilder, Nick notices Gatsby looking over the party approvingly, completely sober and completely alone.
Wow, that was weird.
A few weeks later, Gatsby picks Nick up for lunch in the city. He is obviously trying to impress Nick with stories about his wealthy family, his high education, and his heroic actions during the war. But when they run into Tom after lunch, Gatsby seems upset and quickly vanishes. Nick finds out why when we learn Gatsby's biggest secret.
Finally.
With his approval, Jordan later tells Gatsby's story to Nick. It all began when Gatsby was in the army. He was stationed in Daisy's hometown and the two fell in love. Daisy wanted to accompany Gatsby to New York and wave goodbye as he left for Europe, but her parents stopped her. They didn't approve of Gatsby. A year later, Daisy was engaged to Tom. Jordan was a bridesmaid and she found Daisy crying hysterically while clutching a letter, supposedly from Gatsby, the night before the wedding. She drunkenly spoke of calling it off until Jordan put her in a cold bath to sober up. Daisy married Tom the next day and never spoke of it again.
Oh, that's so sad.
The newlyweds seemed happy, but soon Tom was involved in a car accident with another woman by his side. Daisy gave birth to their daughter a few months later. Meanwhile, Gatsby had pursued his dream of becoming wealthy enough to get Daisy back. Then he found out where Daisy lived and he bought the mansion on the other side of the water. He hoped that she would hear about his amazing parties and attend one herself. She never did. He started asking if people knew Daisy, and Jordan was the first person he found.
Wow, it's so a lot to unpack.
Jordan told him that Nick was Daisy's cousin, and Gatsby hatched a plan. If Nick could invite Daisy over, Gatsby could make an appearance, finally come face to face with his great love again, and show her the life he had built.
Now it's coming together, my friend.
Nick agrees and invites Daisy over for tea. Gatsby is pacing through Nick's house, extremely anxious. Once Daisy arrives, she's dumbfounded to see her long-lost love for the first time in 5 years. Nick gives them some privacy to talk, and when he comes back, Daisy is emotional and Gatsby ecstatic. An important conversation had obviously taken place. Then the three go over to Gatsby's mansion where he anxiously shows them his luxurious lifestyle. When Nick finally leaves, the two are so lost in each other's eyes they don't even notice. It is implied that Daisy and Gatsby start an affair.
You are so bad. You are naughty.
In an ironic twist, the press is taking an interest in Gatsby that same summer. They want to know where he gets his money from. Along with narrator Nick, we find out about Gatsby's past. His real name isn't even Gatsby, but James Getz. His parents were unsuccessful farmers. He had worked as a clam digger and salmon fisher, whatever provided him with food and a bed. He had dreams of becoming rich, but didn't know how to achieve them.
How do rich people get so rich anyway?
While fishing, he came upon a huge yacht and the owner changed his life forever. Dan Cody was a kind 50-year-old millionaire with a bad alcohol habit. They got to talking and Cody liked the ambitious 17-year-old boy. Gatsby was hired to help out around the yacht and to keep Cody out of trouble when he was drunk. This went on for 5 years. A lot of Gatsby's persona was based on Cody, from the way he dressed to his habit of greeting men with, "Hello, old sport." When Cody died, he left a large sum of money to Gatsby. But Cody's fiancée took him to court and left him with nothing.
Oh no.
As a last resort, Gatsby went into business with some shady people. It is implied that he took advantage of the Prohibition, a period in which alcohol was illegal in the US, which meant that smuggling liquor was very profitable. So while the press is rummaging through Gatsby's past, Daisy finally attends one of his infamous parties. To Gatsby's dismay, she doesn't like it at all.
It's not really my thing.
After the party, Gatsby tells our narrator Nick that all he wants is for Daisy to leave Tom so they can get back to the way they used to be. When Nick advises him that you can't repeat the past, Gatsby exclaims, "Of course you can," alerting us to Gatsby's true motive. Not long after, Daisy makes the risky move of inviting Gatsby over for lunch at her and Tom's house, along with Nick and Jordan. It doesn't take long before Tom realizes there's something going on between her and Gatsby. Tipsy by now, Daisy suggests they all go into the city to escape the hot suburb.
That sounds like a real bad idea.
Tom drives Gatsby's fancy car with Nick and Jordan, and along the way he stops by the garage. His mistress Myrtle sees him from the window but can't talk to him. Her husband Wilson found out she was cheating and locked her up. He doesn't know with who though, so Tom leaves quickly. Once they settle into an equally sweaty hotel room, a hopped-up Tom confronts Gatsby and Daisy with their affair. Gatsby tells him that Daisy never loved Tom and only ever loved him. He tries to convince Daisy to tell Tom this is true. She complies, but quickly backtracks when Tom seems hurt. She tells Gatsby he wants too much. She loves them both. As Tom tells Daisy he'll take better care of her from now on, Gatsby panics and tells Tom Daisy is going to leave him. Daisy seems unsure, but agrees. Tom then turns to Gatsby and angrily tells him all he's heard about his illegal money-making schemes.
You're a criminal mastermind.
Daisy seems shocked, and Gatsby quickly tries to convince her they're all lies. But Daisy seems to distance herself from him. Then she tells Tom she wants to go back. Tom agrees, and scornfully tells her to drive back home with Gatsby, adding, I think he realizes his presumptuous little flirtation is over.
Damn! That was intense!
So Tom drives back with Nick and Jordan, in Tom's car this time. As they drive through the Valley of the Ashes, they see a crowd at the garage. The three go and take a look and see Myrtle, dead. It turns out that Myrtle escaped, ran in front of a car which hit her and kept driving. It's clear that she had recognized Gatsby's car, which Tom had driven earlier, and had probably hoped that Tom would save her from her angry husband.
No such luck.
The three leave the scene in a daze and drive to Tom and Daisy's house. As Nick is waiting for a taxi, he finds Gatsby in the bushes. Gatsby explains that it was Daisy who was driving and it was an accident. Just in case Tom gets aggressive, he's watching the house as per Daisy's request. Nick looks through the windows to make sure Daisy's okay and sees the couple at the kitchen table, talking earnestly with Tom's hand resting on Daisy's. He doesn't have the heart to tell Gatsby. The next day, Nick visits him in his mansion, which has gotten dark and dusty since he stopped hosting parties. While waiting for her call, Gatsby tells Nick all about his love story with Daisy all those years ago, but the phone never rings. Nick goes to work, and when he comes back, he just knows something is wrong. He runs into Gatsby's garden along with some staff, and they find him, dead in the pool.
Oh my God, that's awful.
Shot by Myrtle's husband Wilson, who they find dead in the bushes. It turns out that Wilson realized Myrtle must have recognized that car and ran towards it for a reason. He went to Tom, asking him if he knew who the car belonged to. Tom had answered, Gatsby.
Son of a...
When Nick calls Daisy to let her know Gatsby has died, he's told that Daisy and Tom have already left town. Besides an avalanche of press, nobody comes to pay their respects, and Nick is left to arrange Gatsby's funeral alone. The only people to attend besides Nick are Gatsby's father and one man Nick recognizes from the many parties in Gatsby's house. Sickened by the whole situation, Nick breaks up with Jordan and moves back home.
Look, man, I'm over this shit. I'm over it.
The book ends with Nick thinking about Gatsby's attempt to attain his dream life. How it was so close and yet so far. It ends with the most famous line in the book. So we beat on, boats against the current, borne back ceaselessly into the past.